So the next thing I would like to talk about is your mindset. These are the three minds. There's Ishin, Mushin, and Zanshin. So you have Ishin, Mushin, and Zanshin. Each one of these is designed that you go through it as a mental process. So in Ishin, what I want to do is get connected. So what I'm doing is, once I decide to take my kamai, or assume a stance, or I turn my mind on to be aware, I connect to everything around me. It's like my brain builds a map of everything around me that's moving all the time. I start thinking about the people in the room, the exits. I want to start looking for where the windows are, where the chairs are, where the tables are. I want to become aware of how people are moving, who's probably aggressive, who's not. So I connect myself to everything going on, including the intention of the people around me. It's difficult to see things in this way, but you need to really think about, do you get a feeling about certain people? This is part of being connected. Do I feel like that guy's going to hit me? Do I feel like that person's confused? Do I feel like that person's agitated? Does that person give me no feeling? These are things you want to become aware of. Mushin. Mu means void or empty, so it's the empty mind. So the empty mind, when you think of this, you have to think of it as empty is like a container. What is the purpose of a glass? To be filled with something. So if my mind is already full of something, like I have an idea about what I want to do, my mind is full. It's not empty. I'm not open to respond to anything that could occur. My mind is clogged up with these thoughts that I have. And you don't have it empty so that it's completely empty. The idea is that it's empty so that ideas and thoughts and emotions can flow through it freely. If it's pent up on one thing, if you have singular focus, then you can't see everything around you. This is the same thing with your mind. If you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do a motegyaku, I'm going to do a motegyaku, you might miss the fact that there's a mushidori, a musodori, a ganseki nage, or possibly even a potential position just to hit with a really good punch. Because there's a lot of situations that can end very simply through striking where we don't need to do a technique. All we need to do is create distance and leave. So it's really important that your mind is open to all possibilities by being empty. Then you have Zanshin, known as the maintaining mind, or the third mind. So if you think about Zanshin as an observer, it's like looking at myself from the outside. Or when I look at, if I'm doing a kata with a partner, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the kata from the outside, not from my eyes forward, not from my mind and my logic and my emotion, but I'm looking at it from this third person perspective, where it's looking at me, and I realize not just what I'm doing, but my relationship in the world. And since I'm already connected, and I've emptied my mind, I have a very clear idea of myself and this other person in motion as something is occurring. So this is your maintaining mind. Maintaining mind, we'll call it the M mind, or the third mind. Which means I'm not in a first person perspective, I'm in a third person perspective. And I'm consistently keeping these other two things in action. Now, originally this was taught by saluting. What you would do is you'd come up, you would salute, and as you came out of the salute, you would connect. Empty your mind, and then do the kata, and once the person's on the ground, you would return to kamai, looking at the person, maintaining that mind. But there's another way of looking at this as a perspective. It's the idea that I do these not as steps, but as layers. I first learn them as steps. I connect, I empty, and then I maintain that mindset. But another way of looking at it is, I connect with an empty mind from this third person perspective, and it becomes a whole unit, a singular thing that happens consistently. So this is something that you should strive to practice every time you do something, whether it's a cross punch, or a kata, or a roll. You want to connect, empty your mind, and have this third person perspective, because then you'll have a very clear idea of what happened. Once you've done all this and you're done, you can reflect. Because you'll have a very accurate recording of what actually occurred. But if your mind is full and you're not connected and you're only looking through your own eyes, you won't be able to reflect properly because you won't have a clear idea of what actually happened. So you reflect and then you start the process over again. You do this every single time, then you're going to get quality over quantity. It's important to do repetition, but it's more important to do mindful repetition. And this is how we create a mindful system when we practice.